Resident Evil.
Gaming has always included problem solving. In some form or other, the player is presented with an obstacle or problem, and it's up to them to provide a solution. In an age before the onset of the 5th generation of gaming, players had a very different experience in regards to their adventure horror games. System objectives wrapped within adventure-type mechanics met with mixed results in the horror genre, and provided problems in a use item X to solve for Y type obstacle. The crank needed to evolve.
Thank you.
As we enter the year 1996, Chris Redfield and the
Master of Unlocking,
Jill Valentine carved their own path to change the future of interactive entertainment. The artistic direction of gaming was severely limited by the available technology at the time. In today's industry, the thought of a character comprising of hundreds of thousands of polygons is commonplace. However, back in the mid-90s, not so much. This usually caused some less than desirable results when trying to convey an artistic concept to the player. But hey, we all used our imaginations to fill in the gaps. Where we certainly didn't need to, though, was the first time those hellhounds came crashing through those windows. Now that felt real. Deep within the hallowed halls of Capcom, the Grand Wizards leveraged pre-rendered backgrounds to composite scenes and gameplay environments that would produce magical visual splendor decades before their time. Darkened hallways felt horrifying as every new corner presented a threat that was very much tangible and thrilling.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
With clever mechanics that emphasized item resource management and in effect starved the player in terms of ammunition and health restoration.
Chris, don't die!
Oh my God!
Resident Evil, or Biohazard as it was known across the pond, presented something completely unique. Leveraging incredible FMV, full motion video, or CGI as it would be referred to today, Capcom was able to present a world that felt real and believable. A simple tried and true game mechanic such as the usage of a crank was forever changed in the gaming landscape, and there was no going back.
Just take a look at this!
This series from the Biohazard trio, Shinji Mikami, Tokuro Fujiwara, and Hideki Kamiya, became one of Capcom's flagship franchises and ran strong up to the turn of the millennium. Throughout gaming's future, multiple games would take influence from this sort of presentation and artistic representation. It truly did carve a whole new genre within interactive entertainment. This was coined survival horror. Once we ran through the initial trilogy of the horrifying tales of the Stars Brigade, Capcom admittedly understood the series was running low on herbs. They turned once again to the creative mind of Shinji Mikami. With him and his team of creative geniuses, in secret they concepted multiple ideas of what the series would become. With the series going so far in the opposite direction, an entire new franchise rose from this design. Did you know? Devil May Cry was once Resident Evil 4.
Help me, Dante! Dante!
Within a creative process, it is always incredibly difficult to up in the tea table and start over. To quote a genius of game design, you burn it to ashes, and you hope within a phoenix arises. Or in this case, Mr. X, which is much cooler than Nemesis. No, I will not be taking questions at this time. Multiple iterations were likely constructed before anything even close to what we see today as Resident Evil 4 was born. Understandably, most of this hasn't been released to the public, but I feel it would have been fascinating to see this creative process, as born from those ashes, was a template that once again changed the genre of the interactive entertainment industry forever. The character's survival is pivotal to the experience and core of what the series is. You want to see your avatar on screen as they are faced with grotesque, horrifying opponents and traps. Therefore, the Mikami team crafted a design and camera system unlike any before it. They imagined the camera was set right over the shoulder, and the character filled the majority of that side of the frame.
What?
Let me show you. Even film language had rarely attempted this, as it was a strange composition and rarely worked well within its context. However, once the world was built around this and the opposing specimens reacted and changed their behavior based on this tighter angle, you really felt you were in the character's shoes. You don't really have a lot of wiggle room in this corridor, closer, tighter spacing, so you always feel vulnerable and always on guard.
Sorry about that.
Well, until you find the post-game laser gun. Where do I aim? It doesn't matter. This camera configuration was tantamount to the entire design and construction of the template that would become what Resident Evil was for a whole new generation. Even with this radical overhaul, Mikami and his team were well aware of everything that worked and made the series what it had become. Adventure elements remained and were simplified, yet expanded on. If you were combining 3 gems of some sort, you were likely in for a much greater reward within this new world.
I'll buy it at a high price.
Item boxes remained, but allowed for greater expansion with more plentiful placement, so that needed crank is usually at arm's reach. Speaking of which, item management superseded itself to become the most amazing little game of where do I put all these eggs Tetris you've ever played. Though, fear not, item chest lovers, it's still here to store all your backup eggs.
I see you have an eye for things.
With the launch of the Nintendo GameCube, it wasn't long before the "cubes are for kids" mantra was being heard throughout the industry. GameCube only has baby games. Well, sure, okay. But
Oh my god.
even with the other titles that completely debunked that, it didn't stop the Big N from shelling out for an exclusive contract to the most adult-themed horror shop in town. With Capcom signed on for an exclusive first console release of the next iteration of Resident Evil. Important to note here, rumors were all over the place to what the next Resident Evil would even look like as we entered the millennium. Finally, footage surfaced from Mikami's horror shop to show the world its vision for the next iteration of Biohazard 4, or Resident Evil 4. This footage, although dated, had so much locked into place, and you finally started to understand the evolution and its promised vision. Multiple showings later, usually from the big ticket show E3, we were shown more of this beautifully horrid world.
Okay, it's game time.
Resident Evil 4.
It was so radically different and left field from what we as gamers expected from the franchise. This understandably worried Capcom. They knew we couldn't just watch Leon roundhouse kick Las Plagas into oblivion, but they would need us to feel like we were roundhouse kicking Las Plagas into oblivion.
So cerdo.
In the age before the internet proper, if you were stuck in any video game or needed information on the latest news from your favorite developers, you were limited to talks on the playground and rumors from your friends, uncles, sons, nephew, who worked for Nintendo. Though, behold, in the darkness a beacon of hope. Gaming magazines. These not only were packed to the brim with information and strategies in the latest titles, they also usually featured a packed-in disc filled with playable builds of upcoming releases. That's right, the first Game Pass was from your mailbox. You would occasionally see things of this nature from smaller studios, with smaller budgets. Rarely would you get a chance to play pre-release code before the game was finalized from a larger developer. This was especially true for Nintendo. Enter Capcom. Understanding the player's need to experience this new take on not only a beloved franchise, but the direction of the genre survival horror, they needed to have hands-on control and fall into the boots of roundhouse-kicking Leon Kennedy.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Working with various retailers around the world, Capcom developed a strategy to provide that experience in the form of a demo disc, included as a gift for pre-ordering the game. As the demo starts, fog and smoke are bathed everywhere, as enraged villagers burn your companion in the village square. Carefully, you take out each and every obstacle, smashing through windows and hoisting ladders as you try to put that one extra step between you and death. Finally, there is a calm. As you hear less and less screaming, you take a sigh of relief and wipe off your hands. And then, you hear what sounds like a chainsaw? You think, there is no way that was a chainsaw, or that someone even has one, until you no longer think because your head has been separated from your body.
This was a massive success, and before the age of social media as we know it today, this game blew up. It was everywhere, and infected all corners of the media and entertainment world. Like a virus. T-virus.
The fever pitch for Resident Evil 4 was Ada Wong levels of fire. People couldn't wait to be ripped apart by Las Plagas infected ganados, as you desperately tried to organize eggs exactly to perfect. It was an insane success for GameCube, a console, keep in mind, that housed monkeys in balls. This horror fest moved over 10 million copies worldwide. No, you certainly didn't need to stumble upon a locked briefcase containing some alloy metal that would be used in a laving machine to fashion a magnifying glass to see. This was the new direction for Resident Evil. Carefully balanced, just when you think you have it figured out, the game throws a curveball, and now you have to deal with hell itself as you try to make as much room as you can to tweak that perfect shot to rid the world of this abomination. Or how about being locked in the greatest outtakes of an Indiana Jones film? Just haphazardly thrown in, just because. Don't worry though, the game will occasionally ease off the gas and introduce advantages, such as removing a monster's ability to see. Can't see you, won't be able to hunt you down, right? 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 Leon! Throughout all the blasting and dodging and strategizing of surviving, the game also employs a new mechanic that forever became a staple: treasure. Not only stashed everywhere, but also provided as the greatest rewards for tackling some of the more difficult challenges. This provided the player a sense of purpose and encouraged exploration, opening up linear areas to make you feel like a pirate searching for that X marks the spot, plundering treasure to ensure you can bling out that beer mug.
Yarr! I'll buy it at a high price.
What's going on?
Decades later, this title has been ported and moved onto platform after platform, allowing such a widespread exposure that even Umbrella would be proud. We are on the dawn of not only the re-release of this title, but the release of the official remastered vision of what this game has become. A more in-depth and detailed vision of Capcom's masterpiece. When the game was released in 2005, it was an incredible showcase of the available tech at the time, and what Nintendo's little indigo box could really do. The foundation of an atmosphere-soaked Las Plagas fun park has already been laid down. It's now up to Capcom to show us what that looks like with an upgraded lens. Made from alloy, while being lathed off in a machine about some... Resident Evil 4 entered the industry exactly when it needed to.
A wizard is never late.
Providing not only an injection of creativity and perspective, but also crafted a gameplay template that has stood the test of time. We wouldn't even have games fueled with chainsaw-bearing gears. Overworked space mechanics. Nope. Best dads. Best boy. Treasure seekers. Bathtub relaxers. Horde dodgers, and even its own identity. Which franchises can you think of that have delved into their own history to remake their own systems using this perfected template? Yeah, okay. I picked up their collector's edition, and now I own a brand new shiny statue of Leon Jackson. He came at a high price. I am so pumped to jump back into this incredible world that broke new ground for the entire industry. With incredible pacing, awesome environments, and stellar exploration, this title has really nailed the Resident Evil template down to a T. Virus.